That's interesting. So
So I'm saying that there's a bit of mission creep in what the politicians pass on to the regulator. Some decisions, such as the trade-offs between the costs to the state versus the cost of the people, to the people of a certain service, that should be a political decision. You know, the state should say, for example, we're very keen that people consume water cheaply, and we'll give up on roads or schools or what have you for that goal. I don't think this should be given to a regulator. On the other hand, regulating telecom, given a certain price, ensuring that competition is energetically, working and lowering cost and the like. Yes, that is the role of the regulator. Was that part of your conversation yesterday?
Yes. But
what should be actually the in terms of reference of these regulators, and have they not overstepped a little bit?
Well, that's right. I mean, one of the most active participants, I would say, was Mr. Kwame Pielim, who, as you might know, was the chairman of the public PRC. Yes, so he had very clear views, and we had a techie. The NDC was represented by a techie who has very clear views as well. Yes, I'll get you the tape. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to ask about is aid coordination. Now, I always say that, people like you, the World Bank and co, of course, for good reasons, you have been quite hesitant about the governance dimension. Over the past decade or so, everybody appreciates that governance is important, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I would imagine that governance issues are things that perhaps the bilaterals have a comparative advantage in. I know you are very passionate about aid coordination in this country, the multi-donor aid support, and so on and so forth. What has been the division of labor sectorially? Is the World Bank, for instance, also important on governance issues? I suspect also important on microeconomy, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, broadly, it's what you said. We don't deal with the political issues directly, although we keep ourselves informed because it's fascinating and it's hard to understand the whole if you don't focus on that aspect. But we leave the discussions on security or setting up of elections or how to strengthen parliament to other bilaterals, and we focus on more social economic issues. But we're trying to go beyond that. We're trying to withdraw from some sectors. It's been difficult, frankly, because there's a heavy donors presence here, development partners we call them, but they don't bring a lot of technical people with them. They have general managers. So we're actually finding interesting that we're having difficulties withdrawing from any one sector. For example, I'm trying to get out of basic health and basic education, focus on the financing of health and vocational training, for example. And we have a pushback from the thematic groups there. I must say that we are getting much more interested in the political economy of things given the arrival of oil.
Yes.
It just jumps to your face. The political economy of oil is a very central issue, and unfortunately, not many or no country of limited income has managed so far to manage oil well. Will Ghana be able to innovate and show the way? Possible. One can be optimistic, but unlikely unless we focus enormously on this issue.
Well, I'm happy you mentioned oil. As you know, I'm from the Western region, and we are very expectant over the next 5 years or so. I know I'm very much aware, I've been involved myself, that through the Ministry of Finance, you've also been quite active in the Western region. How do you see my region going in about the next 3 years?
Well, your region is already growing very fast compared to the rest of the country and has the lowest poverty rates.
Oh, really? I didn't know
By
that.
far.
I didn't know that.
Some
That's
figures.
interesting.
The poverty rate in the Western region is
Is that from the very latest GLSs?
Yeah, it's less than 10%.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
At times it doesn't look like that.
I know. But I guess the poverty line is quite low.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's growing a lot, and I think it should be supported to really become a growth pole in Ghana, so that in parallel to Accra there is a growth corridor, if you like, that combines all the potential that the West offers, which goes from mining to tourism to forestry to fisheries to oil now, and to all the major agricultural crops. And some serious thinking needs to be done about how to accommodate all of this without losing some of the potential. For example, the whole discussion about the environmental safeguards for oil, I think should be taken much more seriously, because you have the livelihood of hundreds of thousands of fishermen at stake. Now, oil may be much more money, but oil doesn't create jobs. It creates hundreds of jobs, but it threatens thousands of jobs. And you don't want to replace good jobs with welfare. And so the environmental impact has to be taken very seriously.
I know you yourself and our finance minister who passed tried to push this idea quite strongly. But now that we are caught in between regimes, what do you think might happen to the timetable for any such public action?
That's a big question. From my information, the investment plan, the development plan, has been put on the table by
the investment plan from where, the NDPC?
No, by the oil companies.
Okay.
They put together an investment plan. Now,
let me, is it an investment plan in corporate responsibility, or they are private enterprise investment?
It's something formal called the development plan.
For the Western region?
No, for the oil.
Is it like the development of their business, their mining operation, you mean?
Yeah,
okay.
The mining operation. And that has to be accepted by the government. And then they have 60 days where they have an option to buy a larger participant. It's quite a formal process. Now that development plan, at least a draft, has been put on the table, and it was discovered that there was no environmental assessment as part of it. It's a major weakness. Now the initial attitude of the government, from what I hear, has been to reject it and to ask them to go back and do the environmental assessment. Now this would take 6 months. So this would delay oil revenue by 6 months.
Okay.
What exactly is the decision and what would be the position of the new government is a big issue.